Hey everybody, it's Paul with CDA Software. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's video. So what we're going to do with today's video is we're going to show you what you need to be aware of before you go live with mobile parts receiving. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to click on the inventory menu. We're going to click on inventory menu and we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. And it says print part reference ID labels with QR code. So what does that mean? What that means is that you need to pre-print QR codes to ship to your technicians on an individual basis. And what that will allow your technician to do is that while they're using the CDA mobile app and they're doing parts receiving, they're going to be prompted to grab one of those pre-printed labels with the QR code, and they're going to be prompted to put it on a part that they are receiving in, and then they're going to go ahead and scan it. So the first thing you have to do before you go live is you have to pre-print QR codes to ship to your technician. So let's go ahead and imagine for a moment that Bob is our tech and we need to get 300 pre-printed codes over to Bob. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to inventory, we're going to come down to the bottom, and we're going to say, hey, let's print some QR codes for Bob. We're going to come up here, and CDA is going to say, hey, how many pre-printed label codes do you want to send to Bob? And we're going to say, I want to send 300 to Bob. And then we're going to go ahead, we're going to say submit, and then we're going to say done. And so now those 300 pre-printed QR codes printed, and now we're going to ship them off to Bob. Now let's go to our next technician, who's Mike. We're going to go to inventory. We're going to say this time we want to send Mike, who does more calls, we're going to send him 500 labels because he runs a lot of calls and gets first-time completes. And so what we do is we print those labels, we pre-print them, we say submit, then we say done, and now we're going to have 500 labels that we're going to ship to Mike. So the first thing that you have to do before going live and implementing mobile parts receiving is you need to pre-print QR codes to have them shipped to your technicians. Now the second thing you need to be aware of is over here in the parts area. I just want to use this as an example. When you use mobile parts receiving, the way that part of the magic works is you have to implement carrier tracking on all of your parts. This program does not work without having the carrier tracking information. So not only do you need pre-printed QR codes, you will also need to make sure that you start entering in carrier tracking information for all of your parts. One example would be you have a PO. That PO had 4 parts assigned to it, and they were going to be shipping to our technician, Bob, who's our example. So as soon as we find out what the carrier tracking information is for that PO, we're going to assign it, just like you see here as an example. This isn't exactly where you would do it. It's just being used as an example. You would put in that carrier tracking in the PO area and the vendor invoice area for that matter. And then that will get over to the technician. And what happens is when your technician checks in his part, he will scan the carrier tracking information, and then it's going to tell the technician, hey tech, you should have 4 parts. Let's go ahead and receive all those parts. So those are the 2 pieces of information you need to be aware of. Now what I'd like to do to make things a little bit easier for you is I'd like to show you an example of what this looks like when you implement it. So in this first picture, what we did is we printed labels for Bob. So these are pre-printed. We ship these off to Bob, and we ship these off to Mike. And so this is what it will look like when they get their pre-printed labels. And then what happens is your mobile technician will scan this carrier code. Because he scanned it and because you inputted the carrier tracking information, it's going to know to prompt Bob, hey, this is a wire harness. Go ahead, peel off a QR code, put it on the package, scan it. It then prompts them to write down the claim number, and that is how the system works. You ship preprints, they scan the carrier tracking, and now it magically tells the technician what to do, and the technician just follows the prompts on his mobile device. Now what I'd like to do is show you another picture. You may not be familiar with the CDA tracking label. This is what a CDA tracking label looks like. It has a ++ number, and then it has unique serialization. It has a UPC code, it has a QR code, has the part number, the description, the vendor, has lots of information. This is a CDA tracking part label. Over here is the parts receiving label, which we just spoke about. Notice how it has a -- serial number. The CDA parts tracking has a ++ serial number. So the way the cycle would work is you have a carrier tracking information that your technician scans. They then put a QR label on the part they're receiving. They scan in the unique serialization that starts with -- that gets auto-assigned to the unique ++. So this is what the cycle looks like when you use our system for mobile parts receiving. We use carrier tracking, we use parts receiving unique code, and the unique part tracking label within the CDA desktop software that we have. So that is how it works, and that is the important information that you'll need before you go live. And that will conclude today's video.